Hello, I'm Stacy Sherman of Doing CX Right, and I'm so excited to have you here today to join me and listen to James Norris, his wonderful story about the topic I'm so passionate around, humanizing business. And what does that mean from an employee experience and as a customer experience from his shoes? So let me begin. James, in a couple of sentences, who are you? And we'll get into your story after.
First of all, Stacy, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. My name is James Norris. I'm the founder of Handicapable Fitness, a nonprofit organization that aims to help those with challenges lead a fit and active lifestyle by connecting them with qualified fitness professionals and the services needed to live that active lifestyle.
Thank you for sharing that. So let's get into your story. First, we're going to start as an employee of companies. I know you worked at a radio station, and tell me about that experience in terms of employee experience. Was it good? Was it bad? What was it like for you?
Stacy, I worked for Greater Media Boston. They don't exist anymore, but that was a phenomenal company to work for. They were very family oriented, went above and beyond to really make things accommodating. I'll give you an example if you'd like. When I got hired there, they didn't have the automatic doors. So they came to me and said, "Hey, we're going to be putting these in. Would this work for you?" So I said, "Perfect." So they went in, they installed them all, not only just on the first floor, but they also put them in the second floor as well. And they really went above and beyond, big time.
I also like you told me that they asked you what you needed. Is that right?
Yes, yes, they did.
So the reason I bring that up is because there's no need to guess. As company leaders, we don't need to guess what people need. You just ask them. They'll tell you, right?
110%. Communication, communication, communication.
Yes. And so your radio experience, it sounds like they accommodated you in multiple ways. And is there anything else in terms of your employee experience that you feel they did right that you want other brands to know, to copy the concepts?
Absolutely. So I'll just give you an example. Here in Boston, we obviously get snow and lots of it. And they always made sure that the walkways were shoveled out. They put the rock salt down. And again, these are just basic necessities, but often so overlooked at times. So that was another great experience.
Yes, I want to repeat that. It's basic, right? We've got to get the basics right. Forget about these really fancy, sophisticated methodologies and process. Let's get the basics right. And that made it
Just get the
a
basics
better
right.
experience for you, something so simple.
100%. And so often you hear happy employees lead to much better productivity. Now, I'm not tooting my own horn and saying that I was super productive just simply because of all these things, but it was nice to know that every day when I went to work, I wasn't going to have to wonder, is the ramp going to be shoveled for me? Is there going to be rock salt? I already knew that was taken care of.
Amazing, because we take for granted. We take for granted a lot of things in life. And what you just said is not having to worry about that, right? That's stressful. And knowing that you're being taken care of, the basics, allows you to go to work and show up and be your best.
100%.
So talk to me about what it looks like. Talk about the service that picks you up and drives
Okay.
you. And what does
Okay.
that look like?
Perfect. So, because of the Americans with Disabilities Act, there is a ride service like this in every state across the country, or at least there should be. And what it is it's a van that has a lift on it, and I can get my wheelchair in and out. And they pretty much pick you up anywhere and everywhere you can imagine. Um, and they're great as well. I mean, one of the things I like about them is that they do give you a call ahead to say, hey, we'll be there at 5:30. We're gonna pick you back up at 7:30, and to just kind of give you a ballpark estimate of when they're gonna be there. Now that being said, um, sometimes they don't always show up, and sometimes they send three drivers instead of one. Now I know I'm a big deal, but really, am I that much of a big deal? Um, but I do like the fact that they give you the heads up and that they make it easy in that way.
Yeah, so communication, giving you the notification they're on their way. But also a lesson is for companies, deliver on the promise. If you're going to show up and say that you're coming, show up instead of leaving you out there waiting for them to come. I mean, that's talk about a customer dissatisfaction and pain point.
Yes, and I think too one of the biggest things is they don't just deal with, a little bit of younger people like myself, but they also deal with people that are on dialysis, the older population. So we can't leave these people out in the snow and the cold and all these different scenarios.
Yes, again, get the basics right. But talk to me also about now employee experience again. Now you're the customer, you're in the van, but you notice something with the driver. Explain.
I noticed that, and again, this isn't everybody, and I'll give two sides of the coin here, but a lot of the drivers are very disgruntled and grumpy and, sometimes downright rude. And so, me being a people person, I set out on a mission to kind of figure out, okay, why is this? Because I like to talk to people and we all yearn for that human connection. So, I've asked several of the drivers and I'm like, all right, well, why is a good portion of the drivers grumpy? And they said, well, because we're underpaid and overworked. Now, I think everybody says that, but if you really take a step back and look at it, these people are. So they're working 10, 12, 14-hour days, and their salaries aren't matching up to that. So they have to scratch and claw just to make ends meet, which I think in turn makes them tired, makes them grumpy, and they don't feel appreciated sometimes.
So the point of that story that really hits home for me is that the customer, in this case you see it, you feel it. And that's why I say how important when you want a customer experience, satisfied customers, loyal customers, you got to start with your employees because, like I said, you could easily see how they're feeling instead of picking you up. Hello, James. Good morning. And how's your day? And I mean, right, basic stuff. But think about what that would do for your experience as a rider.
100%. And one other point that I want to hit on here, and it goes back to that communication and, a lot of the drivers being disgruntled. You have to think about because of the population that they're dealing with, this might be the only interaction that these older people have. So if the driver's being grumpy and, snapping at them and not treating them with respect, what is that going to do for the older population who only gets to talk to somebody once or twice a week?
Really good point. And not everybody is positive or sees through like you do. You're putting yourself in their shoes. Not everybody's capable of that. And that's what really drew me to you is your strength and your, conquering challenges and having empathy for other people when you've had, your own struggles and life journey.
Absolutely. You know what? We all do, and we just have to give people that grace.
So 2 questions for you. One is there a brand that you feel is doing customer experience right? Is there a product? Is there a brand? What would you say?
Yes, Nike is doing things right, and let me give you an example as to why. They just came out with the Nike Fly shoes, and what they are is they're an adaptive shoe for people with physical challenges that can't quite get their shoes on by themselves. So they're a pretty stylish shoe that they're really doing right, and they've made an effort over the past couple years to really make this thing happen.
Now, you did bring my attention to the fact that not everybody can pay for them.
Yes, that was one of the downsides because they're about $150 to $200, and I get it. You're paying for the brand name, you're paying for Nike, but here's the thing: there's a couple different things. One, not a lot of people that they're catering to in this population, not everybody, so I don't want to throw everybody in the pool there, but a lot of the population is living on Social Security disability, so they're on fixed incomes. So who can really afford $150 to $200 pair of shoes? That's one. And for me personally, I get around on my knees, so I, drag my feet behind me, so I wear out the tops of my shoes before I ever wear out the bottoms. So I'm not going to spend $150 to $200 on shoes because I'm just going to have to replace them in 3 months.
Yes, so what I take away from that is Nike and others really to understand your experience, create the products more that fit you and your needs, and have a variety of price points so that people of different
Yes.
income can benefit. And that's when you talk about diversity and inclusion in companies, that's doing it right, is more of that appeal. Now it might be more expensive to produce different sneakers and different price points, but that's what's needed to not check a box and say, you're really a diverse and inclusive company. Especially employee experiences, it's important not to check a box, but really do it.
Exactly, because so many of these companies and just a society as a whole, they say, "Oh, we want to practice inclusion, we want to do this," but when it's time to put pen to paper and really make things happen, oh, all of a sudden, we can't do that, and the words become void without action.
Exactly, yes. So if I had CEOs in my room right now, all of them, all the big ones, what would you want them to know? What would you tell them?
You know what? I applaud most of you in here for really practicing that inclusion, especially you, Nike. Um, but it's really not that hard to really put the pedal to the metal if you're serious for doing it, because us as a handicapped population, all that really needs to be done here is communicate. Ask us questions. Ask us what we need. We're more than willing to come to the table with you and say, hey, Nike, we saw that you did this. A, B, and C. Absolutely great. But you know what? And we're grateful for it. But you know what? Let's go back to the drawing board and do X, Y, and Z, because it's a never ending process and we can always improve. And how that improvement starts is just with communication.
And again, the point of voice of customer. Ask your customer, what do they need? What do they want? There's no need to guess. And what I'm hearing you say, even with people of different abilities, it's okay to ask. Don't shy away. It's okay. And I think you're a great voice to advocate for that and represent that. Let's not hide it. Let's have uncomfortable conversations. Let's keep it real.
100%. 100%.
So my last question, I lied. I said before it was going to be last question, but I love talking to you so much. So here's the last one. If
Okay.
you could go back to your younger self and tell yourself what you know now that you could tell yourself then, what would it be?
I love this question. And my answer would be that cerebral palsy is the best thing that's ever happened to you, and it's actually going to become your superpower, because it's going to connect you to so many different people and allow you to help so many different people and give you so many opportunities. And through that, you will find your purpose here in this life.
Your superpower. We all need a superpower. I love that. That's powerful. Your superpower is powerful. Thank you, James, so much for being here. And as I say, to be continued.
Thank you, Stacy. I really appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Have a wonderful day.